welcome back to this thing called parenting. According to the FBI, 375,304 children were reported missing in 2023. 3 children missing is 3 too many, but 375,304 children is a staggering number. So as you get ready to go back to school, here are a few tips to help keep your children safe. These are in no means exhaustive. I'm not an expert, just sharing what I did to keep my daughter safe. First and foremost, pray for your children because God is our ultimate protector. The Bible says that unless the Lord guards a city or our children, the watchmen or us, the parents, stand guard in vain. So pray over your children every day. Secondly, create an Amber Alert kit. My daughter's 27 and I still have hers. In your Amber Alert kit, have your child's blood type, their fingerprints, their DNA, which could be hair or a preserved saliva swab, their eye color, their hair color, their height, and their weight. This information is vitally important for law enforcement agencies to hit the ground running in the unfortunate event that you have to use that information to help find your child. Know your local chapter of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And in the unfortunate event that your child's missing, call 911 immediately and have their info entered into that database and to create an Amber Alert. Next, have a safety plan that works for your family. All families are different. So for example, if you're afraid of your child being taken by an ex to another country, make sure your child knows that if they're ever on a plane or a ship or anything, anywhere traveling, they should let other adults know that my mommy doesn't know that I'm traveling or my daddy doesn't know that I'm traveling. Know where your children are at all times. If they're little and you're in a crowded space like a mall, be the cool parent that holds their hand. And if they don't want to hold your hand, do what I did. My daughter and I had planned this extravagant day at the mall. She must have been around 3 and a half, and we're going to go shopping, we're going to eat at the food court. I mean, just fun stuff. So when we get to the mall, Burlington Mall in Massachusetts, she decides she's so cool, she doesn't want to hold my hand. I said, okay, and this is not a time for reprimand or getting mad. I got down to her level and I told her that unfortunately, because you don't want to hold my hand, we're going into a place where kids are abducted and stolen and they never see their parents again. So if you don't want to hold my hand, that's fine. We can just cancel our date. So we walked back to the car, and as we approached the car, her mouth was dropping. I mean, her chin was on the floor by the time we got to the car because she couldn't believe that I just canceled our date. I wasn't mad. I just drove the point home. And to this day, she'll just hold my hand. Next, make sure that you have open lines of communication. Make sure that your children can talk to you about anything. Teach them that there's safety in numbers. Everywhere they go, if they're little and they're out on a field trip, make sure that they stay close to the group and close to their teacher. Safety in numbers. And if they're older, remind them that good friends do not deviate from the safety plan. I remember my daughter calling me upset in college because she had gone out with friends and then hooked up with other friends and left her by herself, and so she was outside calling an Uber, but very upset because there was a car lurking in front of her, knowing that she's looking for a ride at a time where Black and brown girls were being abducted in scary numbers around DC. And so anyway, long story short, she called me. I stayed on the phone with her. The right Uber came. She took a picture of the number plate, sent it to me, and made it to school safely. And we talked about the incident, and at the end of our conversation, she said, well, I'll never go out with them again. And so train your children to make good safety decisions, because you're not always going to be with them. You're not always going to be there. So her decision not to go out with this particular group of friends was a safety decision. Train them to follow their instinct. because just like parents have instincts, children have great instincts. Don't force them to breach their safety boundaries. I'll give you an example. When my daughter was little, there was an aunt that she could not say hello to. And you know, anybody who knows my daughter knows she's polite. She's been taught to answer back when an adult speaks to her or greets her, but for some reason she would act like she was shy and hiding between my legs and not saying hello to this woman. And you know, every time I met her, the same thing would happen. But I knew enough not to force her to say hello, because by forcing your child on an adult thinking you're being polite, you are breaching the boundaries that they have set for themselves. So I asked my mom about this particular person, and my mom goes, oh, she told me horrific stories of what this woman had done to her stepchildren. Just an awful, awful person. And when they say kids know, they know. So my child's spirit did not like this person. If your child's spirit or heart rejects an adult, leave it at that, as long as they're being polite. Know where your children are at all times. Watch them like a hawk. I know that free-range parenting is so alluring, but we live in a different era where you should know where your kids are. And I don't know if you saw the story a couple of days ago where this man tried to abduct children twice in one day, and kudos to the bystanders who tried to stop him, and to the man, I think his name was Scott, who drove his car and blocked the would-be kidnapper's car. When they say it takes a village, I'm grateful for that village. Vet the adults that you allow around your children, because not everybody has your kids' best interest at heart. Only you and God do. And I know that sounds a little harsh, but I've seen it over and over again where children are abducted, sexually abused by the adults that they trust to protect them. So teach your child about boundaries, about physical boundaries, about safety boundaries, and don't give people too much access to your children. Avoid sleepovers because you can only control what goes on in your own home. Once your child in somebody else's home, you can't control that. So the way I got out of sleepovers was saying, oh no thank you, in my culture we don't do that. And so there's no rebuttal because it's a cultural thing, you know. And if kids do want to sleep over, be the parent whose home they come to, and make sure you're prepared for an all-nighter, to have a space in your living room where they're all camped out, you're watching them like a hawk, because you want other kids' safety a top priority in your home. Last but not least, it pains my heart to say this, but it is part of our safety conversation today. If your child's school does not have an active shooter preparedness plan, be the parent that makes sure that they do. Insist on a plan. Your child should know what they're required to do, what they should do in case of an active shooter, because we live in a world where this is a part of our lives. You know, we advocate for common sense gun laws, but until we get to a point where regular people do not have access to semi-automatics, we have to make sure that our schools have an active shooter preparedness plan, and that your kids know what they need to do in case of that event. Anyway, here's hoping that this school year is a safe, happy and blessed one, and follow me for more parenting tips, and see you next time on this thing called parenting.